Where are the Nine? It's been a while since we received any information on them. The focus was the witness and that final battle. In the final shape though, we see depictions of Zur and the Star Horse, and even receive a new lore entry about Drifter's vision with the Emissary. The Nine may reappear in a future episode or Frontiers, and today we discuss what we know.
Dredgen.
No, not anymore. It's Drifter now.
You have proven yourself worthy. Accept this gift from the knife.
A gift? What gift?
The Nine are essentially dark matter dust consciousness that exist in space. At some point they became influenced by the gravity and planets in Sol and became anchored to them, unable to leave. As life began to form on said planets, the Nine would evolve alongside it, trying to interact where they could. If the life on these worlds or the worlds themselves were destroyed, so too were the Nine. Some members among the Nine wished to free themselves of this dependence on the life. One way they did this was to try and gain the light for themselves. They blocked our communications long ago so the Red Legion could attack Earth just to see what would happen. Would the light be able to survive or would they cage it? They tried to create physical bodies and actually succeeded in some forms with Zur and the Emissary, using Ahamkara wishes to their advantage. Other members of the Nine wished to do the same thing but in a different way, a more darker path. They wished to use this dark matter to create new worlds, be free from dependence on the life here in Sol and the light that resides within. With a horror of revelation so absolute that it would drive her mad if she still had sanity to lose, Lavinia understands where the Nine have always been. They are within everyone, every system, every living and moving thing. Trillions and pentillions of slim dark matter tentacles plunge through all our bodies, drinking up the complexity of our lives and thoughts. We are all pinched silhouettes impaled on the twitchlings of infinitely long spider legs. If you're a new player, you might be super confused and you're like, what the heck even are the Nine? That's because they haven't been around in a bit. The last time we heard the bulk of the information was around Season of the Drifter, and more recently Season of the Arrivals with the Prophecy dungeon. Since then, we've barely even had any lore cards. So the question was, did Bungie completely abandon the Nine, or are they just sitting there in the background observing, waiting for their next move, maybe now that the witness is gone? At the end of Season of the Drifter though, the Emissary told the Drifter to keep playing his game of Gambit, experiment with darkness.
Might just pull this scam off. And when the time comes, we'll finally be in the clear. A horse. Okay.
We have enjoyed watching you. We came to say farewell. Our attention is required elsewhere.
All right. Thanks for the memories, you lunatic. Anything else I can do for you?
You're already doing it. Keep playing the game.
Prophecy was all about light and dark. Our question, what was it? The Nine respond, light and dark, they don't matter. They are both powers, they both can achieve the same things. They're both necessary, and there isn't one evil or good power. This was later fleshed out and basically confirmed as we went through the last couple of years. Lightfall, Veil Containment, learning more about light and dark and how they combine together, and ultimately Prismatic in the final shape.
A hunter and a dredgen ask a question. You seek to understand the nature of the dark. We forged an answer.
What? Where?
Light and dark, heaven or hell. What's the difference?
Well, that's our question, you lunatic.
The Nine have given you their answer. We hope it sates your curiosity. You've certainly taught us much.
You're welcome. Let us know if there's anything else we can do.
Rat, you're useless.
Relax, Moondust. We got what we came for. Let's leave the giant head alone.
Now that was the main point of that dungeon, Light and Dark, asking the Nine what the heck the deal was. But some may argue the encounters and dialogue also predicted future events. The first boss was the Phalanx, possibly representing Keitel. She joined forces with the Guardians and the Light. The final boss was the Kel Echo, representing Aramis and claiming darkness. Now those aren't confirmed, but it would be cool if the Nine predicted it. And next to that, there's tons of dialogue that speaks about light and darkness and events that did happen. Eris knew about the Leviathan on Titan, Asa, years before we even saw Season of the Deep.
This looks like the new Pacific arcology.
On Titan? What's that got to do with the darkness? Sloan has that neighborhood on lockdown.
The Hive nest there in the ruins of the Golden Age, and a Leviathan of untold strength has made it her home.
I danced with the dark. The Hive are not the dark.
The Hive are the children of darkness, as we are of the light. I'll speak to Sloan. Maybe she's seen something.
In the final shape, in the False Idols lore card, Drifter has a flashback to the Emissary vision, and also has an interaction with his new love, Eris Moore. There is a single jade coin marked with the silhouette of a pyramid ship. Keep playing the game. The Emissary of the Nine's voice haunts Drifter, a voice that once belonged to Orin. Standing on the bridge of the helm, he can't hear the ship's running noise or the chatter of the navigation frames. All he can hear is, "The furrow in your brow reveals you." Eris comes to stand beside Drifter at the windows. Their muted reflections pale in comparison to the magenta light spilling from the triangular wound in the traveler's side. "Yeah, I bet it does," Drifter grouses, rolling the coin over and back on his fingers. "So why'd you hide yours, eh?" He hides his worry behind a toothy smile. Eris reaches out and takes Drifter's hand. Calloused fingers brush across his knuckles. He tenses for a moment, then relaxes at the touch. She deftly plucks the coin away from his palm, regarding it with a mild curiosity. He feels lighter without it. "Cryptic non-answers are not a useful totem for you to carry into the future," she asserts, pocketing the coin. Drifter cocks an eyebrow. "You got something better?" Eris watches the expression in the reflection. Indeed, a ray of moonlight, and nothing more. The fact that Bungie brought up the line the Emissary told to the Drifter seems to mean that Gambit still has a part to play, or Drifter is still thinking about those events, Eris telling him, "Don't worry about those non-answers." Since then, the Nine have likely been sitting back and watching the game between these enemies and Guardians, who wield magical powers of light, dark, and prismatic. We know they're tied to the planets in our solar system and the bodies that reside here, so when the Witness took some of those, were they damaged? We don't really know.
Out there on the edge, your fate is a war unseen amid ruined fleets. Two women, feared, untrusted, forever at arm's length. Here at home, your fate is a coin in the hand of a liar. One man, afraid, untrustworthy, forever grasping. You must reckon with yourself. Can you see the path ahead?
What we do know is that the Nine were interested in paracausal power. Some believed in the light, some in the dark, but they told us they were essentially the same thing in Prophecy. The main goal of both of the factions was trying to create new bodies, ways for themselves to exist and survive beyond just being tethered and anchored to the planets in soul, also the life that resides on them. So it brings up many questions. Might they try and claim an echo? The remnants of that final battle, memories of the witness converged into mass and scattered across space. Like the Fallen and other enemies try to claim this power, do the Nine see an advantage for their side of the story? Bungie did speak of a new eldritch horror on the Dreadnaught in the 3rd episode, releasing later this year or beginning of next year. I'm not even sure when it comes out. Now they do say new, but does this involve the Nine at all? It would be intriguing.
Heresy is about the Hive Pantheon dealing with some new interesting revelations that happen.
In Heresy, there's this new eldritch force that's bubbling up to the surface that is opening new doors, creating powerful mysteries, and ultimately they'd lead us back to the Dreadnaught.
In one of the final cutscenes for the final shape, it shows events that we're going to see in the future, like the episodes. It showed Failsafe and Vex, Mithrax and Ido, the Hive Sisters. There were some other moments like Crow and the Vanguard out on some missions, which may not mean much, but there was also a depiction of Zur and the Star Horse. So this could be one of those not much images, or maybe it is hinting toward the future. So before we get to the new card in Heresy, let's discuss what the Nine are and where they've been for those who need a refresher. They were already ancient when the first human beings named themselves. Their flesh was older than the stars, the dark dust wind that blows through the galaxy, pinched by the gravity of Sol and its planets, drawn into their cores and exhaled again. These were the Nine. In time, loops did form. Great arcs of outbound dust collapsed back to their sources to create circuits of shadow. The thickening and thinning of these circuits were the first thoughts of the Nine. They dwelt in massive indifference, unborn primordial gods. There was no force among them except gravity, no structure except the distribution of mass. Their hearts were in the cores of worlds, but their farthest streams faded out into the turn of the galaxy. They were the fountains of Aklis the night before chaos. But life arose on the worlds at the heart of the Nine. Tiny complicated motions of ecosystems and metabolisms and computations. That life left mass shadows in the wind of the Nine, plucking at them like harp strings. From these trembles of structure, the Nine learned to seed enormous resonating waves, thoughts vaster than worlds. So the Nine awoke, and in time they understood that they were as fragile as they were mighty. For if the life that seeded their thoughts ever passed away, they too would vanish. They had no eyes to catch light, they had no ears to hear. And yet they turned their wills upon the alien world of matter and strove to learn, for they knew they had to protect their hearts or die. The Nine are beings of dark matter connected to the universe and more specifically the planets in our solar system. They've existed for a long time, way before humans, and their very thoughts emerge from gravitational loops in this dark matter current. The Nine are dependent on life to survive and are spread across vast distances. From that card, they can affect reality without even being perceived. They were the ones that cut off our communications during the Red War, the reason we couldn't detect the Red Legion invading the city.
Subfeed's telling us.
Nothing.
Well, that's good, right?
No. I mean, they're not there. There are no satellites.
And that's not good.
You want our source, our primal cause. We are the shadows of your world's mass. Old dark dust, ever gravity-flowing intelligences, whirled around each world's core. 9 hourglass pinches in a galactic wind. Too large to see, too small to miss. Our mass binds equals your matter frees. Our philosophy as lay divided. We try to guard and nurture you, and we cherish you as shadows cherish flame, watching your swift bright lives flicker, die, sustained by the patterns of your thought, but distant, unreachable. Beyond what we are, or what we were, the answer lies in serving. 2 sides equals a single coin. Alliance and contact, solitude and silence. Do you understand our fates are intertwined? For you seed the anicitrophy we sustain, but decay is decay is decay. A colossal fragility, a complex fiduciary. Tongueless we try to speak, there must be another way. We must become more than we are. Always together is never touching. Dependence is death fated. So that card was called Declaration, and it further explains this. The 9 are the shadow intelligence bound to the planets in soul. They mention a couple of things like wanting to guard and nurture the life here. They also say what they are searching for, this answer that lies outside of their current nature. They want to evolve. There are a couple of ways they describe this. They could connect more and share experiences, or on the other side, detach and lie in silence. The Witch card explains that the 9 are divided into 2 factions. No, of course she is not safe, because there are factions among the 9. One faction sent Xur and Orin to study the Guardians in the light, to seek the secret of effect without cause, and to protect the source of that secret, the last source now that the Ahamkara are gone. Those 5 played at alchemy with the Cocytus gates, turning dark dust into energy and then into matter. But they could not unlock the secrets of our mad existence. They needed ambassadors, go-betweens. The other faction walks a different path. A path of folds and needles slipped through space-time itself. Existential syringes yielding new spaces to be remade as the 9 desire. They have tried to gather enough dark dust in one place to form a black hole, and found it difficult. When the dark mass collapses in gravity's fist, the dust passes through itself and scatters. But difficult is not impossible. And there is far, far more dark matter in the universe than bright. They will find a way to make new worlds of it. They will end their dependence on life and on the light of Guardians, which the falling veil will soon snuff out forever.
Do you regret this?
What?
Judgment.
I have more agency as an agent than I ever did wielding the light.
You lost everything.
Nothing that ever mattered. I would die for those I love.
We don't understand.
No. We have enjoyed watching you. We came to say farewell. Our attention is required elsewhere.
All right. Thanks for the memories, you lunatic. Anything else I can do for you?
You're already doing it. Keep playing the game. The 9 have given you their answer. We hope it sates your curiosity. You've certainly taught us much.
You're welcome.
So there are 2 factions. One is more friendly, if you want to call it that, and we're seekers of light and humanity. They made Xur and Orin to speak and interact with us. They tried to make physical bodies for themselves at the Cocytus gates, but failed. They wanted to harvest the light to become something new. On the opposite side, you have the dark faction of the Nine, members that wanted to focus on the opposite, folding space-time, manipulating reality, trying to reshape existence through a black hole and its gravity. That group wanted nothing to do with the Traveler, the Light, Guardians, or humanity. They wanted to build a new reality shaped by their own will. In Heresy, we've begun to get some more hints and stories about the Nine. A strange object from seasonal challenges. A curio of the Nine, which is likely for the Rite of the Nine activity in Act 3. The Emissary is going to return as the vendor, so will there be more story secrets? We aren't sure. Now we come to the new lore, a sidearm called Division here in Act 2 of Heresy, which further explains the division between the Nine and their goals moving forward. This is the first time we've had a card where the Nine spoke in years. Our children live, the threat of soul defeated. We remain, we remain. A foolish thought, a threat defeated is our opportunity wasted. We remain bound. Such cruel exaggeration. Can we not engage in elegant conversation as we used to? How can we be prisoners when we need sapiens to ensure our survival? Do we not exist in response to their being? The final shape thwarted by the light creatures, the necessary idiocy of the witness, non-viable means of escape. A childish viewpoint, sourness amplified by arrogance. Our fate, plain as gravity, accept its pull or fall regardless. Your side is complacent, worthless futility. We must look beyond. The chains of matter, reality is malleable if only we will it so. Bright strength lies in the bonds of us, bonds of matter, bonds of love. Your solution falls short, all tethers iron. Invented enemies equals outscorned friends. Our divide ever wider, Nine foes insolent denial. I mourn unity, grieve coalition, follow your foolishness. But if all you find is oblivion and the peril of our children, we all perish. So the Nine were already divided between two factions, but now it seems to be getting worse. They are arguing with each other. That card seems to be different members of the Nine speaking. So there's clearly two sides here. One group that wants to connect with the universe and life within still, make bonds. But the other side wants to leave their existence behind entirely, find a new way to exist. With major enemies gone like the Witness, the Nine can begin their work once more. They say that even with some of the biggest threats gone like the Witness, they still exist as they did. They're wasting their potential. This begs the question, how are they going to change if they do, and has it already begun? We speculated in yesterday's video about the entity in between Oryx and the Winnower in the deep who now controls the Taken. So could the Taken possibly be a way for the Nine to evolve?
We are not alone in the deep. Something I cannot see stands between the Winnower and the Taken. Carve these offerings free from their weakness, King, before something else does.
What does it want? Power.
Like you.
No one is like her.
We don't understand.
She has agency like you wouldn't believe. She can leave this place.
This place. We can leave this place.
Think bigger. She can leave this game.
We don't understand.
Then I'm afraid it's impossible to explain.
We've been harnessing Taken power in episode Heresy. It's not a new subclass or anything like that, unfortunately, but it helps us in different moments through gameplay. This week, though, we took it a step further in the Writhing quest, which can be started by collecting a worm under the Court of Oryx Bridge in the Nether. This gives us new gameplay opportunities like a new shaping slab leveling system and also runes for you to equip, changing your experience and playstyles in the Court of Blades activity. But next to the gameplay, this also has some big story implications with the Deep specifically. Here's the important dialogue from that mission and then we'll discuss. The mission description says, "A void from beyond calls from the depths of the Dreadnaught."
The call I felt emanating from the deep was not for us, or anyone. It was a beacon of want and purpose, sounding from whatever new entity now inhabits the deep. Drifter has located the source. Make no mistake, it is no gift. This we take for ourselves. That we contain this aberrant expression of taken energy. Her methods are not wrong, but there are often more paths than one to victory. One fist you grip control, in the other you reach with ambition. You are ready to face any horror the Dreadnaught can produce, and turn them away with your fury.
So something in the deep is sending out a beacon. It's not to anyone specific, but we find the source of this specific call in the Dreadnaught. And from this encounter, we don't get gifted this taken power, but rather we take it for ourselves. We could contain ourselves, but this time it's about embracing ambition. As we go through the mission, there's some text at the bottom left of the screen. The first one says, "An impossible will beckons." A willful power seeks to corrupt, and the corruption bends to your will. The most interesting line out of that to me is that first one, an impossible will. Eris says we now have control in one hand and ambition in the other. In other words, we are growing more powerful with our taken energies. Sloane told us in the Dreaming City in Act 1 that the power to take is all about control. That you have to keep the idea of who you are intact and sort of shrug off anything telling you otherwise. This mini-mission unlocks the path of ambition at the shaping slab, and we can now switch between the two slabs of the original resolve and now ambition, finding a solution in the taken energies and then having a strong desire to achieve something with that knowledge. Now these are big parts of gameplay clearly, more on the forefront than the lore. Guardians learning to use taken power in a controlled way, and then the exact opposite in ambition. It's also worth noting that this may not be the end of the quest, and it still could be time-gated until Tuesday or maybe later on in this act, because the quest when you turn it into the slab says the next step is on the moon, but there's no quest in my inventory yet. So we could get some more solid answers as we go, but it's always fun to discuss what we currently have. Thanks to Destiny Lore Vault, who has a YouTube channel where they categorize all Destiny lore, dialogue, and secrets. we get new dialogue from the Court of Blades activity. Up to this point, we kinda believed that, hey, it was probably just Oryx controlling the new Taken as he returned in this echo form, right? Something else is between the Winnower and Oryx, and it's creating these Taken.
We are not alone in the deep. Something I cannot see stands between the Winnower and the Taken. Carve these offerings free from their weakness, King, before something else does. I know the wills of every knife in this realm. I hear them scream as the strong metastasize the weak. And I feel a strength I do not know, carving paths that should belong to the Winnower, but don't.
So this is strange. A strong entity has control in the deep. A power that should belong to the Winnower belongs to whatever this new entity is, and there could be various explanations. If it's anyone we know, it's likely the new dread enemy, Kepler. This was the first subjugator ever created by the Witness. This is the same dread that kills Eris in that opening mission. Now the interesting part is that this subjugator is also taken, so either it did this to itself, or that powerful entity guides it too. Kepler became the resonant knife, first of the reshaped. So that's definitely a possibility. There was some dialogue that kinda made it seem like this subjugator was pretty important and was in charge of the Taken here on the Dreadnaught at least, so not sure. But to me, the voice of Oryx makes it sound much more ominous, something that is between Oryx, a super powerful hive god, and the Winnower, a literal god entity of darkness. That's pretty high up there. Would a random dread leader that we possibly kill in this episode fit this position? Or is it something greater, possibly teasing frontiers? And if it is greater, what could it be? The refusal to the Call lore card, the new glaive, speaks about the same entity. You are taken, dark and nameless, shifting in the corners of the world, unmade by your god. Oryx, the Lord of Shapes, cut you into your present form. Wielding Willbreaker, he broke you. To be taken is to accept the knife, accept the pain, accept the sweet pang of a question that cannot be denied. Oryx, the Lord of Shapes, is dead. No will can replace the void of your own. What is left for you? Who are you without the commanding will? There is a new hand on the knife's hilt. It calls to you in the hollow chambers of your dying heart. The knife offers new purpose. Will you accept it?
When I take a being, they kneel broken to discover themselves. They stand flayed of the weakness that clung to their flesh, bloodied with potential. Soon, the knife will be in your hand, and the bone scraped by your blade. Take up the knife. Do you hear it? They yearn for your blade.
This entity could be related to Akka if parts of the worms still thrive. Personally, I kind of doubt it though given the recent lore. Akka had the secret to call upon the deep, which Oryx took by killing it. So a worm of this power in the middle could make some sense. But so would any other worm god, I guess. But what their motive is and how they randomly acquired this capability is a weird fit for me. We know in another lore card that Asa detected some glutted, war-fed cousin long across the Sea of Screams calling out, a distant worm song threat. 3 of the original worm gods of the Hive still exist. The Nine are also still a mystery. They haven't been around in a while, but they are going to return here in some fashion in Rite of the Nine in Act 3. Could just be gameplay of course, but could also tie into the story. We've been getting the curio of the 9 items for the season passes. And there's even a new lore card involving the 9 and Ishtar which we haven't discussed yet. So it's possible that this force in between Oryx and the Winnower, maybe it's the 9. Or one of the 2 factions. We know the 9 are sort of split. Players have been asking for this group's return for a very long time. And I can definitely see a big story drop happening in Act 3 with them, especially if we're getting some new lore now. The 9 wanted to find a way to change their existence. Is this taking power and the secrets of the deep the way they do it? We're going to talk about the 9 and Heresy probably in another video, maybe tomorrow, but it very well could be. Last week we talked about the Dreadnaught tentacles and their possible connection to Akka. Some of you referred to them as veins instead, which kind of makes more sense. But there are also weird eyes scattered all over the place. The eyes feel much more sinister, as if something was watching compared to a dead worm god with lingering elements. We don't currently have any lore to back up the eyes yet, but they may also be connected to whatever is controlling the Taken.
Grief's a funny thing. Some folks get stuck in it, frozen in place. It holds them hostage. And some folks, well, some folks just run. I went far. I had to. I couldn't look at the moon. The way I see it, the farther you run, the less likely you are to get stuck. But this universe tends to stop me in my tracks. One way or another. Something's out there, hero. It's throwing rocks at our window.
So this may not seem like much, but it actually connects straight to the time-torn planet from the Edge of Fate teaser. Let's rewind a bit. At the end of Act 1 of Heresy, from Drifter's perspective, Eris Morn was dead. We as a player knew she wasn't, but this tore Drifter apart. Lore cards spoke about how he wandered the Dreadnaught in grief. I mean, Eris literally died in his arms there. Dialogue also told us that Drifter left. Some characters like Sloane were angry because this is when we needed him most. But he decided to leave it all behind for a bit, try and clear his head, and go on a strange new mission.
I figured I owed you an explanation before I went dark. I'll make it quick. I tried to find a way to bring her back. Don't ask me what I did, but it didn't work. So I thought to myself, hey, I got what I always got. What's left for me anyway? Nothing. Knew it'd happen again. I was a fool to hope, but I couldn't help myself. I just wanted you to know, it's nothing personal. It's all me. This is who I am. Always has been. So, don't come looking. I was already halfway gone. Hey, hero. Got an update for you. Sounds like you and Eris and Sloane have the taken stuff under control. So I'm headed out on recon duty. Hall's staying parked right where it is. This is a short trip, don't you fret. But it's like Sloane said, it got worse around here. And now our backup plans need backup plans. So here's mine. This ain't all the pieces of Oryx's sword, not by a long shot. I'm putting some feelers out, hunting down where those pieces have wandered off to. You never know when you might need a wicked hive sword. So everything's under control. No need to worry about old Drifter. I'll give you a shout when I've got something. Well, can't patch a hive sword up with the everyday sealant. Where's that leave us? You're gonna need some kind of taken fanciness for that. More than I have handy. Might be easier in the right place. Got some thoughts on that? I'll leave you a couple notes. Now, if anyone asks, I didn't tell you this. But they can't do anything to you anyway. Been working with the hidden a little. Call it freelancing. I do a favor for them, they do a favor for me. They're squares, but they've got good intel. And they've been keeping an eye on Savathun. We're gonna have to deal with her sooner, not later. Still digging, but when something useful comes up on her, I'll be in touch, hero. You just stay ready.
So some dialogue tells us that he went out looking for missing pieces of Oryx's sword. He also was working with the Hidden for a little bit, lore cards back that up too. After he left the city, this is when this new cutscene takes place. And it's either Drifter was on a mission to find pieces of Willbreaker and stumbled across this, or this was the real mission all along and he gave us a little cover story. But throughout the new cutscene, he explains why he ran. We see him aboard the Derelict spaceship while time waves of sorts wash over him, same ones from the reveal teaser. You can literally see that it makes Drifter age. Drifter ran so far that the universe stopped him, and this is where he found this planet. All of this also partially seems to suggest that Drifter had something to do with the chess pieces, either causing some of them to spawn where they did, placing them, or at least finding them because the new lorebook explains locations where they are as Drifter wanders around different areas. He actually even gives you like 4 or 5 pieces at the tower, so it could fit story-wise, or it was just for the puzzle. If you do all this chess stuff, you'll get the Tales of a Wanderer lorebook. Here's a couple of examples. He lingers in the entryway. It's the sort of lingering where you pretend nothing's changed, and it doesn't have to, as long as you never go in. Eris will always be just out of reach, but at least there, real in the apartment she barely used, in the city she defended but rarely saw. It's a fool's dream. But what is he if not a fool? So he stays a little longer, sick with wishing. Pretending everything's fine was never going to work. He says he's lost a shipment of new fancy guns to get a bunch of Guardians off his back and a scavenger hunt for non-existent weapons. Give him some peace and quiet. He takes a minute to rustle around in his stuff, grabbing what he might need for maybe a longer trip. Not sure where he'd go, just not here. He swears he can see Eris leaning against the railing, a sly little smile barely turning up the corners of her mouth. He can't stand it. He swings by to let the man in charge know he's going to be out of town for a while. Guy'll understand. And it's a new level of responsible. Commanders should appreciate that. The place is empty though. He wanders around it, sets the beads to clicking against each other, prods the gold figure on the side of the table till it falls over, meanders past books and blinks at the cat perched on the shelf over his head. Nothing. He's restless. The longer he stands still, the longer the grief has to get its hooks into him. He mutters a curse into the silence and sees himself out. So some of these cards tell little stories like these. Others speak of drifters, say, wandering around the tower and finding a chess piece. The last card is called the Final Curtain and says, someone else finds him there. He sees himself out, mouth stinging as he takes the stairs. That's it then. There's nothing for him here, and he was a fool to think there was. Time to go. So there's a little backstory on Drifter's mission, where he went out to, and what he found. It seems like he stumbled upon this and wasn't actually searching for it. He was just given the Guardian cover stories to say, you know, I need to take a break and go out for a while. The new exotic ship also gives us some lore. It says this. What do you imagine you see? Drifter has a log of reports, a list that grows year after year. He doesn't bother encrypting it, not like anyone else could get anything useful from it anyway. It's about the hull, see, the tests he's run on it when he's of a mood to be a curious man. He checks how heavy it is, gliding along behind his ship like there's nothing at all to it. What it off-gasses? Nothing, but also dust. Sometimes the dust is radioactive particles, sometimes it's confetti. No two tests come back the same. It's a hobby. Wake up in the morning, feel a specific sort of gnawing in the part of him that passes for human. Find out what the hull feels like weighing today. Once, out of a kind of morbid curiosity, he went looking for patterns in the data. A secret message sent in space divided by time, cryptographics. Nothing, not even a joke at his expense, just nonsense. Static played out on the radio, all that noise still equaling zero. Drifter's almost insulted, but sure, whatever. No one asked him to understand the thing, just carry it and play the game. Sometimes the game covers his incidentals. Sometimes it's a weight around his neck. Either way, he's getting tired of waiting for the other shoe to drop. So this card of course speaks about Drifter's hull. His ship is the Derelict, but a while back the Emissary of the Nine arrived in his ship and said here's a gift from the Nine, giving him now what he tows behind it called the hull. This of course contains sort of unknown space pocket dimensions of the Nine, which we visited in activities like the Reckoning, but beyond that it still has many mysteries too. I'm sure there's more theories and mysteries to dive into involving his ship and the hull, but it also makes me wonder one more thing. He went out there to take a breather and eventually found this planet somehow. The hull of course is connected to the Nine, or was in the past, so does something happen there between that and the planet? Or was the Nine sort of story threads already set in motion long before this? The Vex are an enemy in our next DLC, just under a couple of weeks away now. Sure, we fought against them since Destiny 1, but story-wise this might be the most interesting time to encounter them. Because something strange is going on Kepler, and Bungie doesn't seem like they want to tell us yet. What we do know is that the Vex are interested in what the Nine are doing. Now the Vex have always been interested in their main directive, so to speak, convert everything to Vex and just survive. The Vex cannot simulate paracausality, cannot understand light or darkness, but they are obsessed with trying to figure out a way to use them both. Just think back to some of these stories we've experienced and read about. They used Queriablade Transform to study Oryx and his sword logic. Panoptes was in the Infinite Forest. And even a whole faction of Vex worshipped the darkness and the soul divisive. They tried to do things like recreate the Black Heart, perform missions for the Witness's goals back in seasons like Seraph. These Vex forces with different goals still exist, but our latest enemy amongst them are the Conductor's forces. The power of the Echo allowing her to craft her own army that defies their usual logics and behavior. Vex would act more individual rather than a collective. In a lore card, one of them was even seen waving to a guardian. So after the final shape, the Vex are evolving big time, breaking their own rules which they played by for so long. Having things like emotion and identity and fusion of paracausal forces and experimentation. And on top of all of that, now they're interested in what the Nine are doing, which can't be good. In the reveal trailer for The Edge of Fate, Lodi speaks. He seems like a strange guy just from some of the cutscenes we've seen, acting kind of awkward. But if you haven't watched the trailer in a bit, you may have brushed over what he said.
Observe, connect, conceal. Guardian, I had a vision. Conform, comply, return. They just wanted to show us disasters. Observe, connect, conceal. I'm not human anymore. Return, conform, comply. No one else should know what this feels like. Enough. Terminate your suspicion, Commander. Remove your scornful blindfold. Observe, connect, conceal, conform, comply, return, observe, connect, conceal, conform, comply, connect, return.
We've discussed Lodi theories in some past videos. Did the Nine create him? Was he a human plucked out of the pre-Golden Age and brought here at this time period? Or was he created by the Warmind Rasputin, one of his golems? I came across a post the other day by Oni Recon, which I thought could fit perfectly, especially with this Vex aspect of things. Oni Recon noticed that there is a line from a Forsaken armor set, the Mimetic Savior set, that has similar lines to what Lodi said in that audio. Specifically connected to an area where Vex were capturing humans and putting them in kind of a zoo. The unnamed inhabitants of this area said, imitate, observe, comprehend. So credit to Oni for finding this. This could be a huge hint at the future of the story. Or maybe it just was a cool line that Bungie made years ago. Who knows? Sometimes Bungie likes to pull from old lore and make things relevant again. Just look at Asa. In the post, Oni speculates, could Lodi have been part of some Vex experiment? And are there others like him? So if you've watched my videos before, you know me, I love to dive into theories and possible story outcomes. So let's branch this out a bit and talk about if it might be a thing. To dig a bit deeper, let's take a look at the story of those captured humans in Fireteam Theia. So the story of this Fireteam is told from various sources. The armor piece descriptions from the Mimetic set, and even the Pocket Infinity Destiny 1 exotic. Galita Theia was a warlock and leader of a 6 Guardian Fireteam. Back during the Ahamkara hunt on Venus, she made a wish to a dragon, telling it to turn into a Vex construct so she could study and learn from it. Another Guardian named Isidel Brandor was a part of Fireteam Theia. Together this Fireteam would explore, and eventually met the Vex in a battle here on Venus. They were trying to extract some Vex secrets, and even build a new weapon from it. During that battle, it seems Isidel got sent into a simulation, Inside, she found that the Vex had humans essentially in a zoo. They were all spread out in their own enclosures. The weird thing was, the humans had no clue the Vex did this to them and that they were being studied. She found them in Juno Chasma. A base. No, an exhibit. The humans didn't know they were in cages. They don't know about the Vex. They don't know they're being watched. Isidel Brandor to her ghost. Isidel says, "I'm here to save you. Imitate, observe, comprehend. Unnamed inhabitants, Juno Chasma." Isidel hoisted herself back up over the chasma edge, turned to help the man behind her, but he was gone. Everyone was gone. The chasma was empty. Then she remembered the fire team, the gate, the desperate plan. "Theia, pull me out." No response. So Isidel forgot she was in a Vex simulation and likely didn't escape. In fact, the entire fire team was presumed dead from these stories. But the Vex resources they were after in the end helped Banshee craft the Pocket Infinity. That card said this: Fireteam Theia died in the Ishtar Sink, hunting the secrets of the Vex. They must have come too close to something precious, for the Vex descended on them with their typical, inscrutable, thorough violence. But their sacrifice was not in vain. The data they gathered helped forge the Pocket Infinity. Properly modified, the weapon should be capable of devastating output on just a single charge cycle. The Infinity's mechanisms have proven difficult, if not impossible, to replicate in mass. It is conceivable that the weapon draws its energy from the Vex networks. An ominous possibility. So be wary with it. So, if you're interested, Goleta Theia, as in Fireteam Theia, all 6 members were lost on Venus years ago. So their story is intertwined with that of the Vex, falling to simulations and warfare like so many before them. In that simulation, Isidel found those humans, and some people, which I'm assuming could have been the humans, could have been something else, maybe Vex, which were referred to as these unnamed inhabitants, said that line, imitate, observe, comprehend. Which is very close to what Lodi says, and also close to what we see in items from the Collector's Edition. Are these items from the Department of External Observations? Was that department looking into Vex experiments? Maybe someone like Lodi and their team accidentally failed, getting pulled into a simulation or timeline where they now exist on Kepler, and maybe the 9 directed them to do so. I have no evidence to back this up, I'm just thinking of some wild theories at this point. Yesterday's sort of reveal cinematics make me think a little bit differently about this theory. But it does make you wonder who was calling Lodi on the phone. Was it someone like Ikora? If it was the 9 in some way, how would they even do that? Definitely makes you wonder. So that brings us to the main question again. Is Lodi a Vex simulation, or created from one? The Vex are here for a reason in the DLC too. The 9 also involved with Lodi, so things are very strange. All we can do is speculate at this point. Do you think the 9 and the Vex have some type of strange pact? Or are they both here for their own reasons, trying to advance themselves and evolve even further?
begins with an invitation, and we are invited, along with a very specific group of people, to a location, to a moment in time for a very specific reason. But if that fish that we pulled out of the water was the most qualified fish to be pulled out into the air?
Down for anything.
It's down for anything.
Yeah.
And what if that fish was kind of made to be pulled out of the water? I don't want to give away too much because this character is way more fun for the players to figure out what his deal is, but I will say that Lodi is very, very far from home. Whether we like it or not, the Nine have a plan for us. And like you said, Guardians are really good at making their own fate and going out and deciding who they want to be. But what happens when them deciding to make our own fate is exactly what our fate is? Like, what if that was the plan all along? These are extra-dimensional beings. That means they perceive our reality in a very different way and can interact with it in a very different way. We also know that the Vex are here. They're studying the Nine because it turns out the Nine can do something that the Vex can't.
From the new cutscene, we see the Aonians, as Lodi calls them, who live on Kepler and have been here for a very long time. He refers to them as scientists, and they've hosted him since he showed up on the strange planetoid. From one audio clip in particular, we can kind of hear them talk in the background.
They've been great hosts since I showed up here a few weeks back. They've been great hosts since I showed up here a few weeks back.
Now Lodi is talking over them, but you can kind of make out these modulated sci-fi voices. They wear red robes, have what appears to be armor on, and a helmet with blue lights. Some of the helmet lights have sets of 4, while others just straight up have 5 in a row on the visor. I'm not sure if this has some type of significance story-wise. Maybe each Aonian has different numbers of blue lights on their helmet depending on what their task is and how high up they are in the ranks. On their robes, you can see the 2 half-circle symbol also seen around the environment and on the drone-type objects in the concept art. This might be the representation for their mission or Aon itself. We don't know what's under the helmet though. Is it straight up just a human? Is it a consciousness implanted into a body like an exo? From that audio I enhanced, I can't really understand what they are saying. Do they speak English? Do they speak some garbled text and will have English subtitles?
Your companion gave me a debrief about your mission before she insisted on meeting the scientists here.
Scientists?
Oh yeah, the Ionians are brilliant. They've been great hosts since I showed up here a few weeks back.
Objects from a different time were sent to us, like we were called or invited. Did you get one too?
Of sorts. I got a call of my own. I'm staying with the locals for a while. Time distortions all over this place. The Elixir make it hard to traverse further out. If you're here to sort out the time anomaly, it sounds like we're on the same side. I'll help you look into your calling card. You help the locals with some of the weightier tasks. You seem like you can handle yourself.
But apparently from some of the early content creator previews, I've heard you can actually interact with most of the Aonians on Kepler. And they might give you a line of dialogue or 2 about the story, which is kind of cool. Lore entries can also be found and seen in the environment. Kepler is their home though, and they've been here for a while. The devices seen on the surface seem to be theirs, and information from the Aon terminal suggests objects deployed. These could be some of those. The same logo is also seen on some crates and different walls around the environment too. Much of their origin is still a mystery, but they seem to be a splintered group of humanity, kind of like we've seen before. That's all we can go on until we hear a voice or what's under the mask, if anything. What if it's an entirely new humanoid species somehow? But all hints, including from the Bungie writers, seem to be a splintered group of humanity.
not you going to the same location where you expect to see someone delivering a piece of information to you between, specific missions. It is like you exploring the world, finding these people, pulling on all these different threads in order to discover things within this weird and wonderful place.
Exactly. The feedback is loud and clear. We want to keep the player out in the world, out and exploring, and get information to them for a change.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and take a look. So this is, we've got up on screen kind of one of our first pieces of concept art from the future. Can you tell us a little bit about what we're looking at here?
No, I can't. On purpose. What I can tell you is that this is some concept art of our new destination, which, like I said, is a new place that we haven't been to before, which means that these people that you're seeing are people that we haven't met yet. We're going to learn a lot more about them, and I love this piece because the longer that you look at it, same with some of the other art that we've shared so far, the more you start to see things that are kind of familiar all the way out at this new location.
I think we talk about a lot, and I think the last concept really spoke to it, is especially when we're developing a new destination like this, we really think about what is a storied history that's happened here. What's something that players can really sink their teeth into and dig deep into. And going into this concept, something that I love about it that's really resonant with me with a lot of the early creative discussions we had on it is that we wanted this place to feel like an exotic world that is just tailor-built around the joy of discovery, right? And then so within this new destination in Apollo, you're going to be discovering powerful abilities in order to uncover secrets in this location and in order to carve a path to the great mystery at the heart of the planet. How can we get that grand mystery in that game, that feeling that there's something right around the corner, that it's kind of has been at the heart of Destiny for a long time. And as we've been closing down the Light Dark saga, it's been an amazing roller coaster ride, but we want to expand and grow Destiny, and we want to change it. And that's what I think these concepts are starting to speak for us.
We of course know Clovis Bray Corporation knew something about and was involved with the Aon Initiative, which may have started all of this in the first place. Aon stands for Apollo Intertemporal Observation Network. Aon's job, according to their terminal, is to note and log data on time dilation and other anomalies across the visible universe. They were named after the Greek god of prophecy and truth, which of course is Apollo. So the Aon Initiative may have been to find or study these anomalies. The Aonians seem to be the ones tasked with that goal. The Aon terminal from the ARG found at aonarchives.net gives us a lot of information about this group, some hints and secrets before we get to jump into the expansion next month. Apparently, at some point in the past of this program, there were 2 occasions where scientific dishonesty cost them years of progress. And they have heavy punishment for incidents like this. They don't want it to ever happen again. Aon was interested in trans-Neptunian objects and how they clustered in strange ways not explainable by the gravity asserted on them. They theorized that another planet-sized object might have existed. This is Kepler. Despite their initial goal from those terminals, it seems their research here is still ongoing. They are scientists. We see them around the area inspecting, learning, and conversing with each other. We do know that Kepler has a black hole at its center. They could be interested in that. Black holes have massive effects on time from what we know. The Aonians are a splintered off group of humanity. Think of it kind of like the Neomuni, but on a greater scale. You have normal humans who went through the collapse and live in the solar system, mainly Earth. You have those on Neomuna who survived the collapse and continued building their own golden age. And then you have these people, who seem to be from a different split timeline entirely. During the golden age, or maybe even before with some of the lore we're seeing from the external observations group, did they succeed in finding a place that exists like this? Maybe through time travel, maybe through some of the gravitational weapons they were building in places like Chicago. Allison and Robbie described the Aonians as being a perfect blend of faith and science. The Aonians believe faith and science are the same thing, actually. And the mystery of this new planet involves a lot. You have the Nine, time, Lodi, Aonians, and the mystery at the center of the planet. With all of this, it makes me wonder, and others, is Rasputin connected to all of this? Clovis Bray for sure, but what about the late Warmind? Well, as Baron here posted on Reddit, we see an image on Kepler from Mr. Waffle's early preview video that is very similar to the planets we saw inside the Seraph bunker seasons back. So again, more connections. Did Rasputin know about this? Was this just architecture carried over from Clovis Bray installations? It would make sense that the Warmind would know about the Aon Initiative. He knew about Neomuna and the Nephili stronghold, and that was pretty top secret. So to me, it would be no surprise that Kepler would have been in his data vaults too.
Guardian, if you are listening to this, then the deed is done. I trust my sacrifice was not in vain. Anna and I have shared our farewells. This will be hard on her, but she is resilient, strong, and she is not alone. I have a final message for you as well. The Neptunian city in Osiris's visions is real. I do not know its exact location, but it is home to the Veil, an object of immense paracausal power, one that is linked to the Traveler. The details are contained within the Nephili stronghold files retrieved from the Cosmodrome. I have decrypted them for Osiris's benefit.
How did the Emissary become the Emissary? The story involves an awoken warrior, ruthless Sunbreaker, and when she lost her light was manipulated into a puppet by the Nine. The Emissary is going to be a big part of the Edge of Fate expansion. She's seen in a new trailer breaking free from the constraints of the Nine. Today though, we discuss how she got here in the first place. So the Emissary has a very interesting story that goes back a long ways, since the beginning of Destiny 2, I believe. And it's personally been a while since I even looked into her story, so this was a nice little recap. It all starts in her human days though. Yep, she was originally a human named Nasya Sarwar. During the collapse, she was on the Yang Liwei ship, which collided with light and darkness, entering the distributary pocket dimension and creating the Awoken. She was one of those first Awoken, and she would go by the name then Nasan R. When some of those Awoken returned to the solar system with Marasov to see what remained of Earth and their ancestors, Nasan did too, and became very close with Marasov. She was the Queen's emissary at this point. Her goal was to basically translate Mara's talk and jargon to others to make it easier to understand. Sometimes the Queen of the Reef was quite cryptic. Awoken of the Reef eventually began to spread out, explore what remained of our solar system, and even make their way to Earth. This was often forbidden by Marasov. If you leave the reef, don't come back. Especially if you're going back to Earth. They were ancestors, but there was some animosity there for the way they handled things. Nasan was one of these Awoken who wanted to go to Earth herself. She wanted to be the Queen's emissary there, help them understand Mara's intentions. Mara said, sure, you can go, but like the rest of them, don't come back or we'll throw you in a cell. When Nasan arrived at Earth, she camped out for a few weeks in the wilds with nothing but a pistol and a couple of objects. One night at her campsite, because she looked different, a group of risen early Guardians stumbled upon her. And because she looked different, the risen not used to these changed humans in Awoken, they would kill her in her sleep. Sometime later, a ghost would choose to revive Nasan, making her a Guardian, where she received her new name, Orin. Orin then joined the Pilgrim Guard, a group of Risen who defended humanity from alien invaders like the Fallen, and also the ruthless warlords of the Dark Age and Old Earth. Orin was then known as a Titan, a Sunbreaker, and a Protector. Throughout her Guardian life, she began to struggle mentally though, with her position as an Awoken and the meaning of that whole situation. She was now a part of the Pilgrim Guard for a long time, and because she became a Guardian, she forgot her entire past life as the Awoken Emissary and a part of Marasov's forces. But over time, the Awoken links began to spark her interest. With the help of Namchi Sen, who she formed a bond with through the lore, she tried to sneak back into the reef. They boarded a ship and made their way through the asteroids, but she was captured and brought before Marasov. Mara, of course, recognized her. "You are Nasan, but you are changed. You were never supposed to return here after you left for Earth as my emissary, but because you've changed, I see. You're a Guardian now, I will forgive you, but you owe me." Orin would pay that favor back in time when Mara sent her to investigate the death of Sir Ido, the Queen's Wrath. She died very mysteriously, and all that was found on her body was a strange coin, which of course is connected to the Nine. Orin's search led her to a cavern where she found what we believe is Zur. The search sends her deep into a sublunar cavern where she finds no enemies, but instead clouds of steam and a half-man with grasping tentacles where his face should be. "Forgive them," he rasps as she crushes his windpipe in her fist. "Who?" she snarls, tightening her grip. His face writhes with glowing urgency. Reminding herself that she came here for answers first and vengeance second, she pushes him away. He staggers, studies, reaches into his robes to draw something out. "Orin," Gull warns, but she's already seen it. She hefts her warhammer and strikes him hard in the chest. It is like hitting a ball off a tee. There is no resistance. He caroms off a dewy boulder with a sickening crunch. That is his spine. He will never stand straight again. And as he hits the ground, a tarnished silver jar slips from his fingers. The sound echoes as it bounces away into the dark. Orin uses a hunting knife and brute strength to puncture the jar's dented lid. She turns it over and pours a thin stream of pale gray powder into her gloved palm. "Dust returns. It ever returns," the man chuckles wheezily. She looks up, and he is gone. So this would begin Orin's journey to study the Nine. We get some backstory there with what we believe is Zur, and the reason he stands over in his hunched form is because of Orin. And what she didn't know at the time is that the dust that was in that jar was actually her mother's ashes. From this encounter with the Tentacle Man though, she began to experience visions, heard whispers in languages she didn't understand, and she couldn't tell dreams from memory. She begins to get disconnected from Mara, her love Namchi, who was killed by a mysterious alien force, and she leaves her mission of Sir Ido's killer behind. Instead, she realizes something bigger is going on here, and she needed to figure out what it was. It was around this time that Orin met the Drifter, a man who went by many different names at the time. The two bonded with stories and grief, Orin speaking about some of these mysteries with the Nine, and also grieving about Namchi, Drifter there to comfort her in some of those dark moments. But when Orin learned that the Drifter ran with the shadows of yore and was a Dredgen himself, she cut off communications.
I'm sorry. I really miss him.
Yeah, me too.
How did you say you knew each other again?
Oh, Namchi and me were buddies. Met in a little dive on Ceres. Used to play cards. He talked about you a lot. Said the Queen trusts you to talk to the Nine for her. That true?
Yeah, sort of. Doesn't seem important anymore.
Yeah. Well, you ever need a shoulder to cry on, I'm here for you.
During the Red War, Orin lost her light, just as all Guardians did. And it's here when the Nine began to manipulate her, guide her on a path to becoming the Emissary. She leaves, and so too does the light. The severance is absolute in its terror. She has not felt such a profound sense of schism. It can be mended. Orin is not your name. The red ships enter. The air is heavy. Now, when you move, you can actually feel the weight of the world. This weight is a gift. You finally have our attention. Her search led her far and wide. She encountered 9 ghosts in the deep system with stories, and even deep orbit mines. But somewhere out there, Orin eventually found the 9 themselves, and they spoke to her. You sought us out. In some small way, you found us. But discovery has a price. With curiosity comes consequence. She is not ready. Seek judgment. Grow. Orin became the emissary of the 9 around this time, transforming into the figure you see here. The 9 tell her that her pain has meaning, that the universe is not ruled by light or dark, but instead by choice, fate, and perspective. Fate seems pretty important, especially given we are heading into the Fate saga itself with the Edge of Fate.
Guardian. Guardian, are you there? This is Orin, of the Firebreak Order, and the Pilgrim Guard before that. I have forced a respite from the 9. I repeat, this is not their emissary. I've learned much from them. They believe many things that you need to hear, but for all their power, they are no less fallible than a tower consensus meeting. They think light and dark are set to war again. How and why, you would know better than them at this point. You're on the front line. Trust what you see, at your peril. Trust what you're told, at your peril, including anything you hear from this voice. The 9 cannot agree amongst themselves on a course of action, but that doesn't stop them from acting. They're curious about us, learning as much about us as we are from them with every interaction. Be brave, Guardian. You're walking the path. I know you can finish it.
Under the umbrella of the 9, Orin was changed. No longer Guardian Pilgrim Guard Protector, emissary of Marasov. Not a believer in the light and its powers alone. She was now a bridge for the 9 to interact in our worlds. When we first experienced and met her was in the Trials of the 9, where she would test the Guardians' capabilities. Are they loyal? Are they worthy? The goal was to guide those who at the time could walk a thin line between light and dark, to realize a bigger picture. To test the Guardians and humans, try to teach, and most importantly, help the 9 understand the complexity of our lives as a species. They are dark matter streams of consciousness, but they were interested in learning more, for curiosity's sake, but also to try and alter their own existence.
Do you regret this?
What?
Judgment.
I have more agency as an agent than I ever did wielding the light.
You lost everything.
Nothing that ever mattered. I would die for those I love.
You don't understand.
No. The 9 are fascinated by your kind. What can you teach them? Think of Zur as a prototype. I became the next model. A fresh attempt at communication.
Hey, how you living, sister? What can old Drifter do for you today? Wanna play some Gambit?
The Dreadnaught has visions. They disturb him.
We know about those, huh? You the one causing them? Tell you right now, I don't appreciate what they say.
The gift is showing you what you must see. It is your fate.
No. I make my own choices.
If that is what you want to believe.
Freaking psycho.
Orin also played some other chess pieces, if you will. She returned to gift Drifter the Hall, which was said to be from the Nine themselves. She rekindled some memories they shared long ago, and continued to meet with Mara Sov as the Emissary, Mara calling her a shell of her former self, which I guess is true. And through the invitations of the Nine, she tried to reveal more truths to us.
It was a friend once, a confidant.
Guardian down.
Now it is a shell. Avoid falling into schemes of the Nine. Like the curse on my people, their games never end.
So Orin did seek answers involving the Nine in the bigger picture, but they essentially converted her into the Emissary without her permission. They spoke through her, although she still retained her own will as Orin herself and relayed dialogue and information to the Guardians. But as we see in New Rite of the Nine lore, the event going on in-game, the Emissary has had enough and begins to break free from the constraints of the Nine. Stories we'll talk about in a video very soon. A new lorebook from the Rite of the Nine explains how the Emissary became enslaved to the mysterious megadust consciousness in our system, and also how, over time, she began to break free. The Nine seek transformation, and they view their Emissary as a tool to make that happen. Today we dive through more stories of this fragmented alien force, and their strange mysteries leading up to the edge of fate. So today we're going to discuss some of the lore from the new Anamorphosis lorebook. There's 6 pages in total. We're going to pick out a couple of them, the most important ones. Specifically on the Emissary's creation and journey to breaking free, which we've seen in the new DLC trailer. If you are wondering how you get these entries, these are the ones from the dungeon collectibles. There's 2 located in each dungeon. Prophecy is now available. So once you run through each dungeon, you should be able to collect all of them. But if you want them quicker, you can read them on Ishtar or hop on separate characters and get all the entries early. The definition of anamorphosis is a gradually ascending progression or change of form from one type to another in the evolution of a group of animals or plants. In this case, the evolution of Orin to Emissary, and now back to something new. An original body like she once had, but changed mentally for sure. If you missed one of the previous videos I made, I broke down the story of Orin. From her human life as Nasya Sarwar to Guardian life and mysteries researching the Nine. That is sort of a prologue to this video, so if you're confused on this character, you might want to watch that video first. The first entry is titled Theogonia, and tells us the tale of how Orin awoke as the Emissary, now enslaved to the cosmic force known as the Nine. You wake in a dust storm. Your mind scatters, one neuron for every mote, spread across the distance of galaxies. You were someone else before you were you. You no longer remember her name. Now your head rings with 9 voices in one throat. Our minds proclaimed.
Emissary.
We invoke your awareness. We demand your obedience.
Know now our minds.
sins. See now our will, unbound by time. Take it easy now, we only have one. Your diaphragm expands. Nitrogen, oxygen, xenon, alveoli spasm. Fireworks of pain in your chest. Breathe, breathe. You will survive this. Emerging from star stuff, washing up on cosmic shores. Round and round we whirl our Ouroboros of life and death. Flowing in cosmic rivers, caged by grubby fingers. Limitless potential, chained by Archean squabbling. The reef, the asteroid, the city. A man whose name slips through your fingers. Pointless pointillism. Hush now, little one. Gather the vestment of my breath. Drink the wine of my blood. Cut out your tongue, and hereon speak only our truth. Blood of my blood, traitors to the last. How curious that such fragility may experience our fullness. You have no choice. When the world expands beyond your knowledge, what can you do but expand with it? Mountain, valley, swivel, modular forms all start with basic folds. Don't come too close or you'll burn your little wings. Fashion the blade of my bone now, bury the killers of my children, my beloved, my kindred, me. You don't want to kill anyone, you want to protect them. You want to build bridges, isn't that why you're here? One appointed emissary, 9's will delivered. Should you desire more, you must dare to.
Do not resist. We will not be dethroned.
Irreconcilable strength, foolish struggle. Xenon fills your lungs, your mouth cracks in a smile. Your vocal cords vibrate, your words, not theirs. We'll see about that. So we can see that Orin wakes up and the 9 are very demanding. They say, we demand your obedience. And they see their new emissary as simply a vessel, a speaker, and an agent. The 9 are caught in this cycle of life and death, trying to ultimately escape. They say they are chained, but they see themselves as gods. There is a frustration though because they seem to be limited. Physically, limited by time and dependence on the life in our system, as we've seen with so many lore cards before. They want their new emissary to be a blank drone. Cut out your tongue, they say. Submit to our will and speak our words. Do not resist us, we will not be dethroned. And at the end we have the line, we'll see about that, where Orin speaks in her own voice, hinting at the transformation we will see throughout this book. In the Mekon card, we begin to see Orin's departure, breaking free. Now there's some other cards in between this to talk about the 9 more in their backstory, but I'm saving some of that for a different video. The 9 know that they are bound, not free, and they intend to keep Orin bound as well. If they can't be free, neither will their emissary. But what they don't know is that Orin has already begun to break their loop. She begins to resist their control, reclaim her previous identities. Hate is such a strong word. Does a cell hate its organelles? Does the emissary hate its atoms? Depends which atoms. Reluctant acknowledgement, frustration, disgust, shaken on the rocks. Pity, revulsion. Imagine, know your breath, your dreams, your poetry are not yours alone. Were they ever? Neurons firing before conscious thought, churning gut bacteria. Serotonin puppeteers. We exist at the whim of mindless chemistry. We are nothing like you, save in this. Autonomy is denied us. Waking, knowing, always our limitations. We seek only freedom. What about my freedom? Silence, cessation. Ha! Curious, this predestiny can still surprise. You raise your boron, let your brains flatten. Yes, this was a surprise to you too. What are you planning? Don't you already know? So the 9 basically said, we don't hate you, you're just a part of us, like a cell in a body. We're not really in control of ourselves either. We're all made of these chemicals and instincts. Nobody's really free. And on the other hand, Orin pretty much laughs in their face. Well, she does. She says, well, that doesn't excuse what you've done to me. What about my freedom? You want freedom from this dependence and all this, but yet you took my freedom away. And at the end of the card, they ask her what she's planning, and she says, I'm sure you already know. Orin was once again beginning to make her own plans, taking over her will, and the 9 realized that they couldn't contain her anymore like they wished. In the Kresmoy card, we have the point of change and things get really strange. The Emissary begins to dive through time and experience different visions. She sees things like civilizations collapsing, creation, destruction, and rebirth. As she experiences this vision, the 9 step in and try to stop her. They say, you overstep your bounds, what are you doing? At this point, the 9 try to destroy her and succeed, ripping her apart. But because she remembers who she was, she's stronger than ever. She sees her past memories as Nasia, as Nasin, as Orin the Guardian, and she's ready once again to become a free will. Finally, you have reached this moment. Your chronoreceptors unfurl, petals of a dark matter sail, capturing 1,000 breaths. Finally, you can see. A ditch, a hut, a squat village, a city, steel teeth eating the sky. Dive, dive, dive. They dug too deep for comfort, too shallow for understanding. It haunts the halls, waiting, existential midwifery.
Emissary, you overstep your bounds.
The voice rattles your electrons, sets your strings to screaming. You push onward, you snatch at 1,000 lifelines. A rusty sea, a figure so small, a future so vast. A micrometeorite delivered to the cranium. A weapon to be, one little light, awaiting another. No time even to scream. Red sky at morning, sailor's warning. Rattle, drag, 2 eyes bear witness. Just what do you think you're doing? What you came here to do in the first place? 9 pairs of hands rip at your atoms in rebuke. You grit your teeth through the pain, sift the silt, look for gold. Where is it? Where? A row of calibration weights, 2 women, laughing, the scale, tipping. The heaviest crown bows for the executioner's blade. A bouquet of roses on an empty grave, Frankenstein's monster, gasping on the table. What is old is new again. Is the honored emissary now a petulant child? You collapse into confetti. You hold each flake together with all your might. You are you. You were Nasia. You were Nasin. You will be, Orin again. An iron carriage thundering along a high road. In older practices, a circle was thought to contain magical energies, a musical thrum. Answer it. A letter plastered in stamps, care of the weapon, in flight, to you. Yes, you, Guardian.
Seize.
The grains slip, formless. Smoke through your metacarpals. Nuclei through your atomic cloud, screaming. You seize the last thread. There, in that lightless abyss. No, a whale carcass, picked over by malacostricans. No, full fathom 5 thy father lies, an evolutionary explosion. No, dying to barren bone. You drag yourself back together, your sulfur hexafluoride howl dying in the vacuum of space. You have to warn them. So Orin experiences visions as the 9 tear her apart. She says she has to warn the Guardian though, and this likely comes into play in the Edge of Fate. The last entry is Katasterismos, and continues on from the previous card giving us our ending. The Emissary is disembodied, broken, but still alive. She rebuilds herself from cosmic dust, from the ashes of her former selves. And now she seems to be holding on to a gift. Something that could change the outcome of the visions she's experienced. Something that will bring about peace after her crazy past. Orin will return stronger and truly free to make her own fate. You cannot warn them when you are Neon. Hands. You need hands. How will you turn in your resignation letter without them? They expected a mouthpiece, dutifully repeating after them. But they needed a true translator, and in translation, there is always a personal flourish, just enough for you to keep a foothold. There was a receptacle, a mouth wide enough for the hand you need. Wide shoulders, tapering into a narrow base, the flash of sunlight on minnow scales. A silver urn. You did not know when you were yourself what the fine dust inside was. You did not even know before you were yourself. But the first you that would become you, Nasya, knew. You have lost so many things, so many people, so many selves. You will lose more before you are done. But you still have your gift. You sit on the shore of a cosmic ocean. You are building a body, one grain at a time. It is hard work to sift through star stuff. Harder still to pluck each little speck of ash from the mess. Speck. Mote. They do love their motes, don't they? You are rebuilding yourself, one atom at a time. It is slow work, but one day you will be done, and this endless eternity will compress into a moment in your past. Your gift will end wars. It's time for you to use it. So there you have a majority of the story of Orin the Emissary from the Anamorphosis lorebook. When she first awoke as the Emissary under the Nine, how terribly they treated her, and how over time she began to change, even being ripped apart by the Nine and through cosmic mysteries picking herself up piece by piece to put her body back together. Now I'm wondering from this lore, is that what we're seeing in this actual cutscene? You know, more of a metaphorical representation of what's going on inside? Or did the Nine, actually rip her apart and she was disembodied without a body for a time and then rebuilt the pieces? Much different than what we see in the cutscene, but makes you wonder. Throughout this cutscene too, the Nine speak at the beginning and Orin speaks at the end.
What follows light and shadow is silence. That silence breaks. I am summoning you as a new age begins. I see sapient life turn to each other. They remember how to look to the stars. They remember curiosity. They remember how to thrive. But they have forgotten. They forgot we were here long before the Traveler. They forgot that they need us. But they are fated to remember. I will remind them.
I'm sure you will. But not through me. Find someone else. My will is my own.
The members of the Nine. We know, of course, there are 9 of them, but now we know each of them individually. Their symbols, planet's gravity they reside in, and their possible personalities too. As we head into the Edge of Fate, we're going to learn more about these characters, and part of that journey begins here today. Welcome, Guardians, let's check out these mysteries. The 9 have appeared in lore cards for a long time. That's where they appeared mostly. Casual players probably didn't even know they existed. Trials of the 9 when Destiny 2 came out was the first big moment when the Emissary came into town to test us, teach us about judgment, fate, and death. The lore cards had text from members themselves, and we even heard them speak to the Emissary in activities like the Reckoning.
Do you regret this?
What?
Judgment.
I have more agency as an agent than I ever did wielding the light.
You lost everything.
Nothing that ever mattered. I would die for those I love.
You don't understand.
No.
What does it want?
You ask the same questions. You never listen.
Why did it do this?
He's afraid.
Of death?
Of everything.
So it kills.
He hates violence. He hates it so much that he'll murder anyone who tries to inflict it on him.
Each member of the 9 speaks differently, and this has even been updated over time. For example, older lore cards had Earth speaking with a bunch of periods after text, but now it's just lowercase. So you can see the way the 9 speak in cards and also in the new Rite of the 9 cutscenes. Each one is a different member speaking. Now there is no dialogue, it's just subtitles, but you get to see some of the differences. Each member of the 9 also has their own symbol, some of them in the cutscenes and some seen in early previews of the first mission of Edge of Fate. Also, if you've completed some of the Rite of the 9 stuff and seen the pop-up for the new t-shirt from Bungie Rewards, all these symbols are found on the back of that too. The 9 are noted in Roman numerals, of course, from 1 to 9. It includes all of the main planets in our solar system and then the Sun. So here they are in order. 1. Mercury. 2. Venus. 3. Earth. 4. Mars. 5. Jupiter. 6. Saturn. 7. Uranus. 8. Neptune, and 9. The Sun. These symbols all look pretty cool and were kind of fun to recreate in Photoshop from the t-shirt. To me, in each symbol, the number of rectangles means that number of the 9. So for example, in Jupiter here, number 5, we see 5 different rectangles. You'll see these symbols in the Rite of the Nine cutscenes and also from early gameplay previews from creators. There seems to be interactables in the Edge of Fate where members of the Nine speak. Hopefully there is some dialogue instead of just subtitles for that, but I guess we'll find out. The 9 throughout lore and even in the new Edge of Fate dialogue all speak differently. And from lore hints we can begin to piece together which text belongs to specific members of the 9. Now I did not figure this out. Dobie Rams had a very nice post on this, and Destinypedia has a chart too. The links to those posts can be found down below. The Destiny community does some great work. The way they speak has changed over the years, and we can narrow down most of them and speculate about the last few. So here's how it appears they currently speak. Mercury speaks with a word, a line in between, and then another word. Venus is kind of similar, word, a dash, and then words. Earth appears to speak in lowercase text. Mars begins our journey into the uppercase with uppercase and periods after words and sentences. Jupiter speaks in all uppercase with spaces in between each letter. Saturn speaks in text in all caps. Uranus speaks with a word, a plus symbol in between, and then more words. Neptune is kind of similar in the fact that it's a word, an equal symbol, and words appears to be in lowercase too. And then the Sun, we don't really know, but it could be words like normal sentences. Here are some examples of texts from different members. What we're going to talk about next is not confirmed, but some members of the community have speculated about each of the Nine's personalities. Happy Hair 3626 and Hazardous Scald have both made posts about how certain personalities might be linked to these members. The core of this theory stems from the Division Sidearm lore tab from Heresy. Its description says, "An Enneagram tips, poised to shatter." An Enneagram likely refers to the Enneagram of Personality, which is a model of 9 interconnected personality types. This is an actual test you can take in real life. You answer some questions and it gives you one of these personality types it thinks you're closest to. In terms of the lore card, the phrase could be pertaining to the 9 themselves, meaning they are at a tipping point and about to shatter, fall apart, or maybe change their fate. So going by that logic, these couple of posts entertain the idea that maybe these personality types are tied to the 9 themselves. We have Reformer, Giver, Achiever, Individualist, Investigator, Loyalist, Enthusiast, Challenger, and Peacemaker. If you remember back to the Edge of Fate reveals, Bungie said this.
We also know that the Vex are here. They're studying the 9 because it turns out the 9 can do something that the Vex can't. As Dave mentioned, the House of Exile are also here. They've become fixated on a being that they call the Giver. And kind of most importantly, the dimensionality on Kepler is really thin. So the 3 dimensions that we can know and see and touch are very close to the realm that the 9 live in. And that means some things from Earth's past have been yanked into Kepler's present.
So that might be another hint that these personality types are spot on. The Elixni looking for something called the Giver. There's also a weapon called Giver's Blessing, so there's that too. Here are the descriptions of the different personality types from a site called Enneagram Institute. Not sure if there's a better place for definitions, but here we go. Although there are 9 personality types, I don't know which one belongs to specific members of the 9. For example, if Mercury or Earth is the Giver, I'm not sure. We might be able to guess given how they interact in different lore cards, but I haven't pieced all that together yet. If you have, let us know in the comments. Reformer personalities are conscientious and ethical, with a strong sense of right and wrong. They are teachers, crusaders, and advocates for change, always striving to improve things, but afraid of making a mistake. They are well organized, orderly, and fastidious. They try to maintain high standards, but can slip into being critical and perfectionistic. They typically have problems with resentment and impatience. So their fear is of being corrupt or evil. Their basic desire is to be good, have integrity, and to be balanced. Next we have the Giver, who are empathetic, sincere, and warm-hearted. They are friendly, generous, and self-sacrificing, but it can also be sentimental, flattering, and people-pleasing. They are well-meaning and driven to be close to others, but can slip into doing things for others in order to be needed. They typically have problems with possessiveness and with acknowledging their own needs. They fear being unwanted, unworthy of being loved, and they desire to feel loved. So if that's true, it's interesting that the Fallen would be looking for somebody like this, unless Bungie put their own sort of spin on it. Achievers are self-asserted, attractive, and charming. Ambitious, competent, and energetic, they can also be status-conscious and highly driven for advancement. They are diplomatic and poised, but can also be overly concerned with their image and what others think of them. They typically have problems with workaholism and competitiveness. They fear being worthless, and their desire is to feel valuable and worthwhile. Individualists are self-aware, sensitive, and reserved. They are emotionally honest, creative, and personal, but can also be moody and self-conscious. withholding themselves from others due to feeling vulnerable and defective. They can also feel disdainful and exempt from ordinary ways of living. They fear that they have no identity or personal significance, and their desire is to find themselves and their significance to create an identity. The investigators are insightful and curious. They are able to concentrate and focus on developing complex ideas and skills. They are independent, innovative, and inventive. They can also become preoccupied with their thoughts and imaginary constructs. They become detached, yet high-strung and intense. They typically have problems with eccentricity, nihilism, and isolation. They fear being useless or helpless, and they want to be capable and competent. Loyalists are the committed, security-oriented type. They are hardworking, responsible, and trustworthy. They are excellent troubleshooters. They foresee problems and foster cooperation, but can also become defensive, evasive, and anxious, running on stress while complaining about it. Their fear is of being without support and guidance. Their desire is to have security and support. Enthusiasts are extroverted, optimistic, versatile, and spontaneous. Playful, high-spirited, and practical. They can also misapply their many talents, becoming overextended, scattered, and undisciplined. They constantly seek new and exciting experiences, but can become distracted and exhausted by staying on the go. Their fear is of being deprived and in pain. Their basic desire is to be satisfied and content, to have their needs fulfilled. Challengers are self-confident, strong, and assertive. Protective, resourceful, straight-talking, and decisive, but can also be egocentric and domineering. Challengers feel they must control their environment, especially people, sometimes becoming confrontational and intimidating. They typically have problems with their tempers and with allowing themselves to be vulnerable. Their fears of being harmed or controlled by others. Their desire is to protect themselves and to be in control of their own life and destiny. And lastly, we have the peacemaker, who are accepting, trusting, and stable. They are usually creative, optimistic, and supportive, but can also be too willing to go along with others to keep the peace. They want everything to go smoothly and be without conflict, but they can also tend to be complacent, simplifying problems and minimizing anything upsetting. Their basic fear is of loss and separation, and their desire is to have inner stability, peace of mind. So there you have the 9 different personality types. There might be better definitions somewhere else out there, but there you have them. And with some of these, I can definitely see connections to members of the 9. Some of them, like Earth in some cards, seem to be sympathetic towards life, for example, given humans reside on this planet. While others say maybe a part of the dark side of the 9 faction, don't really care about any of this life at all. Speak about it in disgustful ways in certain lore cards. Another dark matter entity exists, a relative of the 9 that traveled across space. But when it reached our solar system, it became entangled in the gravity waves of the 9 and destroyed. Today we discuss how other beings like the 9 exist and what it means as we head into the edge of fate. In the Theomachia entry, the 9 further explain what they are and their thoughts. Their cosmic origin from dust, their hatred of their current form, and their fear of death. We know they are split and believe in different paths. That's kind of further emphasized here too. And although they are tied to the life in our system, they seem to have sour feelings towards that life as they believe it's part of what's limiting them. You unspool your mind, reach out, cast your chronoreceptors. You don't have those. Why don't you have those? back. You want answers. You seize a fistful of dust from the wind. I am. We are. We are 9. Spanning space-time I perceive. My hated brethren, my beloved foes. Our bodies, the whirling masses of gas and dust. Our minds arisen from the twitching of 1,000 spider legs. Disgust and horror unspeakable. Yet is there not beauty in such fragility, privilege in existence? With awareness, terror, even our horrible little components, dreaming of grandeur, fear it. Death. One need only look to Thea. What is there to be done about it? Escape, transformation, immortality. Unbind reality. It is not their fault, yet the consequences are ours, are theirs. Offensive pity for wretched, empty-headed jailers rejected. Until interdependence is severed, what is good for them is good for us. Cooperation considered, refused. Then we 9 are divided. Dark matter dust existing across space and time. As with all the other cards about the 9, they dream about escape and transformation. But they are divided amongst 2 factions on their thoughts of what to do next and what is the correct way to go about that next step. Mentioned in that card briefly was a being named Thea. The next card we're going to look at explains what this being is and why the 9 are so afraid. Thea was an entity that seemed to be much like the 9 themselves, a vast intelligence that was complex and lived for a very long time. Thea drifted throughout space, but over time was drawn into the domain of the 9, maybe on accident. And what happened after that led to a super slow annihilation and death. A 1,000-year scream, as it says. Mind fragments shattered into space. Once upon a time, there was a life. They were not so vast as we, yet they lived. An existence far less debatable than that of quavering atoms. Consider this, our cognitum, Thea. You have heard this name before. The memory dissipates on solar wind. Day by day, they caromed gaily through the cosmologic stream. Unbound by stellar gravity, caged by pitiable minds. Each thought the Herculean effort of a millennium. See now the vast span of its life. So Thea lived until misfortune led it here, caught by my gravities. Mutual attraction equals utter annihilation. These microscopic specks, ants crawling in eaten-rotten eye sockets. Helpless, stupid, blind. But for Thea, a scream lasting 1,000 years. A struggle against 1,000 clinging tendrils. Until at last, a fated meeting with Dearest 3, which could be Earth. Agonies shearing, crashing, tearing. Part of myself, my thoughts, my life torn away, floating brain dead in my sky. Thea's foolish parasite components, unaware to the last. That great stone-hewn form, that eon-enduring mind, gone, in one red-meat pump of sticky, noxious fluid. Each life snuffed, a thought scattered, awareness chipped away. A mere moment in your limited perception, but for one of us, a dying cry, stretching, forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. The curse of our existence, past is present is future. Pain never fade into memory. Can you imagine? No need to imagine when it can feel. You stretch like taffy. Look, see, Nasya. You know the dough is ready when you can read a label through it. You watch the galaxy pinwheel through the window pane of your mind. You watch your doom approach for 400 years in the span of a moment. You claw at neon bars. Nascent awareness oscillating, oozing. It won't calm down. I told you this story was a bad idea. Now just what have you bunch done to it this time? So other forms of beings like the Nine seem to have existed. They speak of Theia, who drifted joyfully throughout the universe, a cosmic dust entity like them. An issue occurred though when Theia drifted into the space of the Nine around our solar system, and they might have become intertangled. The gravity of those vast streams clashing together. The Nine were much larger, thus Theia died a slow and painful death over thousands of years, and now the Nine are horrified by this event. They say they can feel the pain eternally. They will always remember Theia and won't let that memory fade. During that card, they are telling this to Orin to try and control her further, kind of scare her into believing that freedom would lead to her death. That controlling her was necessary and that they are all connected, so hey, stay with us, you don't really have another option. And as we discussed in the previous video, the Emissary decided to break free. So that's interesting because it makes you wonder. It seems other forms of life or self-proclaimed alien gods like the Nine do exist or have existed in the past. Theia was one. The Nine are many that became a group bound to the same solar system. So it could imply that other dark matter entities like them are still out there, even if they don't physically exist in our dimension. Apparently, Theia is a hypothetical planet too. When Googling it, I found this. Theia is a hypothesized ancient planet in the early solar system, which, according to the giant impact hypothesis, collided with the early Earth around 4.5 billion years ago, with some of the resulting ejected debris coalescing to form the Moon. Collision simulations support the idea that the large, low shear velocity provinces in the lower mantle may be remnants of Theia. Theia is hypothesized to have been about the size of Mars, and may have formed in the outer solar system and provided much of Earth's water, though this is debated. Whether that had any connection to Destiny lore, I have no clue, but I thought it was interesting to share. The Nine mentioned Theia as being similar to them. Maybe that means in the form of dark matter dust. Maybe that means that it was bound to planets like they are. And if that's the case, was there an actual planet? Did it actually create Earth's moon in this universe? In the card, the Nine basically said, our cognitum Theia, meaning our relative. The Nine are tied to each of the planets. Theia might have been too with this hypothetical planet. That might make a little bit more sense, a planet being slingshotted across space and eventually getting caught in our gravity, unless space dust easily can do the same thing. But there is that line in there, until at last a fated meeting with Dearest 3. So this tells us that Earth was involved with this catastrophe. Very interesting. Edge of Fate Collector's Edition lore is out now, and it has some massively strange reveals. Yeah, you saw the title correctly. An alien species or energy weapon technology might have been responsible for the death of JFK. A secret department knew about the traveler's arrival 50 to 60 years before it even got here. Countries had access to strange matter and began to create weapons from it. Time anomaly projects and becoming allies with alien visitors. Welcome Guardians, today we break down the Edge of Fate's Collector's Edition lore. So we have some lore from the Collector's Edition. Of course, the expansion comes out next Tuesday, but these are beginning to ship out a little bit early. And some awesome community members have done some great work on the Destiny lore Reddit to bring this to you. Big shout out to Honestly Just Vibin', who put this into a very nice presentation style format. And also Dobie Rams, who transcribed all the images into digital text. I'll leave the links to those sources down below. So as collector's editions usually do with Destiny, we get some epic information. And it jumps around to different bits and stories, introduces questions, and gives us some backstories of what appears to be Lodi. If you haven't been following, this all starts with the Department of External Observations, a company or department that was based in Chicago, Illinois. In the first entry, Director William Moffat welcomes Mr. Yarrow to the department. We've read this entry multiple times before. It was seen in images when Bungie first announced the Collector's Edition. The director met Mr. Yarrow at the Linguistic Society of America and believed his expertise in analyzing languages would be of great use to this department. In Edge of Fate cutscenes, we see Lodi speaking about language and how he translates what the Fallen say there on Kepler. This department was established to study strange paranormal anomalies and alien language. The company's ideals is, if some type of alien race appeared, they wouldn't meet them with hostility, but rather open arms with communication. Many entries throughout this new lore here details a character named Lewis, or Louis, however you want to pronounce it. Lewis is likely Lodi, last name could be Yarrow. Now I'm going to read the most important pages from this, otherwise we'll quickly summarize them. Like this one, which talks about not leaving extraterrestrial samples in the fridge. The next page shows us the office directory, what the department has been looking into and studying. We see sort of the basics that an office would have, and some other strange additions. Like cosmosophy, which deals with theories about the cosmos. There's studies in neuroscience, biology, pangeometry, likely something multidimensional, and even strange matter in all caps, which you'll see pop up in a bit, most likely connected to dark matter. This page shows us a secret letter with symbols. It is written in shorthand, and when translated says this. Now some of you have come here imagining that we lock up Bigfoot and disguise Greys at Paradise Ranch. We do not, and not only because we have no credible evidence of either. The work that we do here is both less exciting and far, far more important. Let me be very clear. There is non-human life in this universe, and when we make contact, we will meet that not with raised weapons, but with open arms. Of course, should we be threatened, we must muster all of our strength in self-defense. But we will never fire the first shot. This department was founded not to wage war or imprison that which we do not yet understand, but to welcome our galactic neighbors as friends we may learn from, allies we may rely on, and most importantly, fellow beings navigating this vast and beautiful universe. The cosmos can be dark and cold and lonely. We need not make it more so. Here's where things get strange. The department analyzes the brain of JFK, John F. Kennedy, to see if there's any connection to these strange forces and matter they've been encountering. Also, gravity-based weapons. As Blank testifies, both imaging and physical examination of the brain revealed extensive disruption of the tissue. While this is expected of a gunshot wound, closer examination by our department revealed subtle patterns in the disruption. Blank and Blank concur that the pattern is indicative of tissue being pulled towards the projectile as it passed through the skull, before it was pushed outward again. This unusual behavior, Blank. Moscow, Blank, upon receiving the news, military authorities increased security measures. This was not unusual, except in the case of Research Facility Blank, which is still under stringent lockdown procedures. Blank, following up on my last request, has been able to recover some documentation from the facility, material to follow. Blueprints suggest that Blank have succeeded in containing material comparable to our own strange matter. But incident reports describing repeated explosive failures suggest that their weaponization programs have hit roadblocks. My analysis indicates they have taken a similar path of using electromagnetic fields to direct the discharge, but they have encountered many of the same issues we have. It is my personal assessment at this time. Blank, stability required. Without causing enough disturbance to have been noted as part of the event. At the very least, we would expect to see Blank, which remains at detectable levels for at least 3 years post-failure. But our readings at Dealey Plaza indicate nothing out of the ordinary. After extensive review of the materials recovered from the Blank incident, I can find no conclusive link between the weaponry and energy sources present at the incident and the evidence from the scene of President Kennedy's assassination. Blank does not mean no link exists, merely that the evidence does not support such a conclusion. So, whoever wrote this report thinks that the JFK assassination did not involve this strange matter, alien forces, or some of these weapons. But as you see in the last line there, the door seems to be open. So now we have real life stories going on, and Bungie just made it canon in Destiny 2. Did someone from this department do it? Was it Lodi? Was it someone from some other company with these gravity-based weapons that we are also experimenting with, this dark matter? Maybe we'll find out someday in some future lore. Our last bulk of lore comes from diary entries written by Lewis, where strange things begin to happen to him. The dates here range from September 7th to September 14th. Lewis has dreams where something is trying to reach out to him in different ways, get him to answer a call. He feels like parts of his body just melt away, change to different elements, and he speaks to different versions of himself. Bad dream. Feels important. I'm walking across the main floor lobby at the office. It's night. I can see Saturn out the window. Reach the elevator. Take it down. Nobody else is here. Something is wrong with my left leg. I look down and it's suddenly made of cadmium. How do I know it's cadmium? I don't even know what that is. I know where I'm going. Break room. Sublevel 3, 6 feet up. My entire family is in the break room, and all of them are dead. I try to leave. Other leg keeps slipping down the stairs, because now it is made of mercury. It spills everywhere. Have to hop up the stairs. Remaining metal leg clangs. There's someone else in here. I think I know them, but I can't see them. Wake up. I'm fine. Thought there was someone in my room. Close the shades so I can't see the sky. September 8th. Somewhere I don't understand. Everything looks like a Rothko. I can't speak, but in the dream I know I don't have to. A group of strangers. They try to talk to me, but I don't understand them. Embarrassed, apologetic. I think I'm supposed to do something, but don't know what. They're all watching. They're talking to me, I think, but I start to vanish. My torso is turning to carbon dioxide. How do I know? I try to run, but my feet aren't touching the ground. My chest is half gone. I try to keep myself together as I also try to run, put it back. Need to be solid. Wake up freezing cold, naked in the kitchen trying to shove myself into the icebox. To do, make appointment with doctor in the morning. What kind of doctor helps this? September 9th. By the lake, daytime. Feels like summer. There are 6 of me here. but 2 of them are wearing robes. Bathrobes? Choir robes. There's someone else, just a voice. I think I know them. They tell me I'm alright. You're okay, you're safe. No matter where I am, I'll take care of you. They are speaking every language I've never heard at the same time. You are loved, child. You are needed. I hear red-winged blackbirds. Voice tells me not to be afraid. I'm supposed to take the call. They want to speak to me. My toes are in the lake and it's cold, but feels great. I'm supposed to be here. Fingers turn to carbon. Creepy. Hate that. Make a diamond instead. I do. It's easy. I want to know who called me. They need my help, and I want to help. I step farther into the lake, walk all the way in, water over my head. It's fine. Wake up standing in the middle of the street at 3 a.m. I'm not afraid, but I'm certain the world ended. How do I know? Run back in, call Ben to check. He yells at me for waking the baby. I feel bad, going to try to sleep. September 10th. Haven't slept that great in years. September 11th. No events. Perfect sleep. September 12th. No events. Fluke. September 13th. No events. Cancelled doctor's appointment. September 14th. I thought this was done with. Woke up on the roof looking up. Climbed down the fire escape. Heard radio fags go off in the closet. The timing was worrisome. Confusing. It didn't wake me on the roof. It came on as I stepped back through the window. I didn't want to open the closet door. Could hear it printing. I turned on all the lights before I opened the door to check. The message is alarming. I think I already know I needed to be there. How did I know heading to the office? To do, reschedule doctor's appointment. Call Mr. Barbsick regarding window bars. So the 9 were trying to contact Lewis, get him to answer a call, which we likely see in the launch trailer. It seems the 9 were following this character for a very long time. We see entries like this, kind of hinting towards Lewis himself, and also like in the launch trailer we see the words 9 multiple times, some nice hints by Bungie. This page shows us some strange discoveries made by the department, including the Traveler. They detected it 50 to 60 years before it arrived in our solar system. X0192 imaging received. Object is spherical, abnormally regular. Reception reports uptick in surrounding systems. Deciphering signals in vicinity is first priority. Cosmosophy reports object is moving towards Sol system. Estimated arrival 50 to 60 years. And the last page is a letter from Lewis's brother Ben. We saw his name briefly mentioned in the diary entries above. But Ben kind of just shares that his kids love their trip to the zoo, talks about them a bit, and how Lewis should really write to their mother because he moved away. Maybe to his new job here in Chicago. So lots of great backstory for a new character in Destiny lore. But let me know what you think about all of this in the comments down below. We have a department that studies strange anomalies and aliens. This character, Lewis Yarrow, joins them, hears voices from the 9, and likely becomes Lodi at some point. So that's, his basic story, but then there's other crazy things going on in the background. There's a massive Cold War of alien dark matter weapons happening around the world, and they've looked into the possibility that some of these weapons may have taken out John F. Kennedy. But if you'd like to see some more Destiny news, lore, and mysteries just like this video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.